live. Welcome all to episode 150 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable. I am your moderator, Wade Finnegan. Yay, I'm back. It's been a while. Happy. I am joined tonight by Krishan Keller-Hanna.
Hello all.
And the other third name person, Robert Chazz. Chute.
Hi everybody, I'm grooving on the isness of the eternal now, and tonight, for this podcast, I'm in charge of reporting the traffic. Sexy traffic.
That would be sexy traffic. I would love that newscast. We are joined by Jasmine Walt tonight. Jasmine is fairly new to the writing scene and has had some really good success. And she does a lot of sci-fi fantasy stuff, but we also kind of pulled her in too because she has the new adult tag, which we were just talking a little bit about in the pre-show, and there's something that we've been wanting to discuss along with that. So, Jasmine, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Jasmine, let's just start right off. Give us, the people a little bit of background about how you got to this point.
Do we start when I was 3 years old and making up stories?
Well, it's an hour show, and usually Robert needs enough airtime, so probably not.
Probably not. It's okay. I wasn't that gifted as a child anyway. But no, I probably started, in my teens, writing, and I always loved fantasy as a teen. Mostly I was a really big Harry Potter geek. Aragon by Christopher Paolini. Lots of epic fantasy, mostly. Urban fantasy wasn't something I hit until, probably in my late teens, early 20s. But pretty much all it was is that I just decided that writing was something I was good at. I think in an English class, I had to write a short story, and somehow it ended up being really entertaining. I had to read it out loud, which was scary. I had to read it out loud to the whole class. And I was surprised by how entertained they were. So I was thinking, hey, all right, maybe I should keep doing this. And what is it? 11 years later, I've got 3 books published, 2 more coming out, and I've kept going with it. What ended up happening was that I turned to ghostwriting a couple years ago, I'd say in 2011, because I lost my job, and I just really didn't want to go work for somebody again. I was just sick of it. And I was also going to college, so, going to a job was stressful for me. So I thought, there's got to be a way to use my talent to make some money. So I found, mostly romance, paranormal, erotic romance, actually. A lot of these people basically farm out their novellas. It was mostly novellas and short stories that I was doing to other writers and have them ghostwrite them. So I was doing that for a couple years, and mostly it was just because I didn't feel confident enough about plotting. And so it was great to be able to write and really kind of exercise those muscles and get to my, million words, as Stephen King says, without having to worry too much about the ideas. And then basically what happened was sometime last year, I realized that, I don't know why it took me so long to realize this, but if these people were paying me $1,000 a story, for 30,000 words, they have to be making more than that. Oh, yeah. And I was doing something like a novella a week, so that's 120,000 words a month. Mm-hmm. I wasn't doing one every single week, but I was writing a lot, so I figured, I've got to be able to do the self-publishing thing. If they can do it, I can figure out how to do it. And so I self-published my first book in December, Christmas Eve, and here I am.
Nice.
Which book was that?
That was Burned by Magic, the first book in my Bane Chronicles series.
Excellent. Just real quick, Christian, if we're getting questions, I wanted to remind everyone watching us live, which we have quite a few live viewers tonight already, which is awesome. Yes, we encourage them to leave some questions for Jasmine, so please do that, or any comments, and we'll do our best to get them into the show. we love our live viewers and the live interaction that happens. So pop your questions in as we go along. So yeah, Christmas Eve a year ago. That's not that long. That's not that long ago. So
not at all.
No, not at all.
Krishan, go ahead.
I have to say that the reason why you're on this show is because we had Boyd Craven on a few weeks back, and he was nervous, but he did a great job with us. And the first thing he said after I was like, "Thanks for being on the show," he's like, "You need to have Jasmine on."
I love Boyd. He's such a sweetheart.
He is.
He really is. I'm excited to see him at NINC this year, Novelist Inc. It's the conference in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of us going, and like quite a few indie authors that I know are going to be there. So I'm excited to finally meet some of these people live.
It's so different when you actually meet them in person after knowing them online for so long. That's I finally met Boyd in person last March when he came down here in Austin for Smarter Artists, and
that's right.
he was in the back of the shuttle like this. It's like he talking to me. And then there was like everyone was kind of like looking over their shoulders at him, and I'm like, "Hey, Boyd, do you remember me?"
Nice.
Right. But he was telling me about your series. So the first one is Burned by Magic. Tell us a little bit about the storyline without giving spoilers, unless you just want to. So we just have a feel for what you write.
So basically, Burned by Magic is a story about a woman who's a half shifter, half mage, and she lives in a society where the only people who are allowed to have magic are mages. Mm-hmm. And shifters are a subspecies that were created by mages at one point, and they used to be like a slave/warrior race, and now they're free, but they're still considered like lesser, I guess. And so she's half and half, and she doesn't know who her father is, and she's been forced to keep her magic quiet because if it's found that she has magic, she has to either agree to have it taken from her, which can cause, especially in adults, can cause like mental damage, or she'll be executed. Mm-hmm. And the story basically starts with her mentor/father figure, Rolanus, and he basically is murdered, and she has to find out who did it. She's an enforcer, which is basically like a bounty hunter/detective.
Right.
And so she goes to find what happened to him, and while she's out responding to an emergency call, she accidentally uses her magic to defend herself in front of witnesses, and then of course she's taken captive, and she's brought to trial, and she's threatened with execution. And she basically appeals to the chief mage, Iannis, and he takes her case, and basically the story is about her trying to convince him that she should be free, and also trying to discover who killed her mentor, because it turns out that he's not the only one who's been killed recently.
Oh.
Yeah.
And with that, the plot thickens.
Yeah.
Now, this has every aspect, all the aspects of paranormal, but as we talked about in the pre-show, your major flag is new adult. Now, how would you personally define new adult, and how does that fit into how you write?
Well, I feel like new adult is more coming of age, like with college age type characters. Mm-hmm. And basically, originally I set out to write an urban fantasy because, urban fantasy is one of my favorite genres, and I felt like epic fantasy was a little too intimidating for me.
Right.
For my first foray into self-publishing. So as I was putting the world together, I realized that I really couldn't have a modern day kind of setting for the type of almost dystopian world I was creating. So I ended up having to set it in an alternate world, and I was thinking, well, how do I classify this? How do I brand it? And I decided on new adult fantasy rather than urban fantasy, simply because my character, she's 24, but in shifter terms, they live to like 300 years. So she doesn't necessarily act 24 in some ways, mm-hmm. and she really acts. Some people have said my books are more like young adult, even though there's swearing and sexual references and stuff like that. So I figured new adult was the best place to classify it because she's younger, but there's still the potty mouth and the sexual references and all that kind of stuff. And there is, like, in book 4, which isn't out yet, the romance sex element becomes a lot stronger by the time we get there. And I feel like it's more it definitely falls more in line with the new adult stuff, as you were saying, like how you think of a lot of new adult has more sex and stuff like that and romance. And in fact, a lot of my readers, maybe not a lot of them, but some of them were like, hey, I thought this was new adult. Where's the sex? And I was like, hang on.
We got to warm up now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering on the expectations of that, but also at the same time, I was wondering if maybe if putting that new adult label also helped you with rank and things like that as well. Any insight there, do you think?
I don't really know, because new adult is a popular genre, but people don't usually associate new adult with fantasy. Ever since I did that, I've noticed a couple of people coming out with books and labeling them as new adult urban fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
There's no new adult just fantasy, or if there is, I don't really know about it. Maybe there's a few. Anyway, I think it was more just, my promotional strategies that really helped kind of get me up in the rankings early on. I don't totally know if new adult is what did it for me. But one of the reasons I chose new adult fantasy was just because I thought urban fantasy would be really crowded. So new adult fantasy might be a better angle to go from as far as trying to stand out.
Okay. Good point. Go ahead, Krishan.
I wanted to talk about the fact that you just pointed out that you had a lot of success early on. Now, do you think that was more by design, that you set out you had a plan in order to have discoverability and to get those sales?
I definitely had a plan.
Sorry?
I definitely had a plan.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't when I set out to do this. I definitely wanted to replace the income that I was making with just ghostwriting. Or in fact, I wanted to make more money. And I think I had the book up for pre-order in October. And during the time leading up to it, I read tons and tons of books about self-publishing. There's a surprising amount of them just that are just for free on Kindle Unlimited, and there's articles, and there's all kinds of stuff out there. And one book, it's called The Naked Truth about Self-Publishing.
Yes.
I love that book, but it isn't so much about the strategic information in there. That's great, but it's really the inspirational stories from I think they're mostly romance writers.
Yes,
who wrote the book. And the thing is that these women were making like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I was thinking like, I should aim for something like that. Like, if that's possible, I should go for it. I'm not quite at the hundreds of thousands of dollars mark yet, but it's happening, or it will happen one day. Yeah. Anyway, so sorry, I've lost my train of thought. What was your question?
Was it by design?
Designed your success.
Right.
And
so
actually,
basically,
I'm sorry to cut you off too, but that goes with the question we just had from the audience too. Jim's asking about launching, so this all ties right in perfectly. So.
Right. So basically, it's a combination of reading these books and figuring out keyword strategies and how to stuff about rankings and things. And basically, that in order to get any momentum, because I was a new author, nobody knew me from Adam, aside from the friends that I'd made over the years from being on forums like Aphonomy and Scribophile and stuff like that. But no readers really knew who I was. So I knew that I was going to have to find some way to basically get like a big enough boost in sales in the beginning to basically make Amazon's algorithm kick in and carry me the rest of the way. so it was two things: the algorithm and just having a kick-ass product page. So that included my cover, the blurb, all that kind of stuff. But I really put a lot of effort into my product page, from the title and the subtitle and trying to do keywords and all that kind of stuff, because I think that, I'm not saying this about everybody, I think most people know this, but I think that the struggling writers out there, I think some of them really devalue how important the product page can be. Even something simple like an author photo, like some people use like tiny like photos where like you can't even see them, and I just think
I'm guilty of that.
Sorry, but I'm just saying, like, it just you want to try to look as legit as possible is the bottom line, because even though indie publishing is so much more popular, it used to be like a dirty word, but now, like, tons of readers trust indie authors. There's still like a fear that like the books are gonna suck because they don't have editors or whatever. So like I feel like you want to try to up your game and make yourself look just as good as the traditional guys. Yeah. So anyway, it was between that and there's an author. Her name is Rebecca Hamilton. Mm-hmm. And I've been friends with her for years, like on Facebook and stuff. And she's like a fantastic marketer. She has 2 websites. One is called Hungry Author, and she provides like new release services. And the other one is Genre Crave, which is kind of like a mini, I don't want to say BookBub, that might be too big, but like a kind of promo email blast service like that. And she also has free Kindle giveaway. And so basically what I did was, when I put the book up for pre-order, she had a giveaway that she was doing, a mailing list building giveaway that was specifically for paranormal and fantasy authors. And I basically put my book up on there, and the exposure was enough to start the sales. Even as I did pre-order first of all because I just wanted to see if I could get maybe, I figured 100 pre-orders in 2 months or 2.5 months was reasonable, and I was hoping that, from those pre-orders I'd be able to get a couple of reviews and kind of start things off. I didn't have very high expectations. I was just thinking, hey, let's get 100 pre-orders and maybe a couple reviews within the first week, and I'll be in decent shape. But surprisingly, after Rebecca's promo, I mean, it wasn't like a ton of sales. It was maybe 10 sales a day, 5 or 10 sales a day in the beginning after she ran the promo, but it snowballed. And I really didn't do a lot of promo. It was really, I want to say I had like 800 pre-orders by the time release day came in.
Wow.
That is
it's
great.
That's solid.
It's pretty. I was aiming for like 100, so like 800 was great. I almost couldn't believe it. Like it was snowballing because I was from the 100,000s in ranking to the 30,000s to like 5,000, and the next thing I knew, like the day before launch, without really any promotion, I had like 63 pre-orders in one day, and I don't remember where I ended up. I think I hit #1 in like 3 different subcategories, and I was like 700 in the 700s on release day.
Nice. That's great.
That was Rebecca Hamilton's new release blast was a big help for that in particular, because she blasted my book to 30,000 people, and many of her readers love paranormal fantasy kind of stuff. So anyway, my point is that if you can get a bunch of people to buy your book in one day, and you can get enough exposure to have like a steady build-up of sales, it really helps. I really think that having a pre-order helped, because I know a lot of people say that they don't like pre-orders because none of the sales that they get count towards their release day ranking, and that's true. But I found that for a brand new author, at least having 5 or 10, 20 as it goes on. I know not everybody's going to snowball to 800 pre-orders, but just having that sales history gives you a more stable and steady ranking than having like maybe 500 sales one day, the very first day, and then it drops, and then there's nothing. So anyway, that's my
And
thought
it does
on
a
it.
bunch for your sanity as well.
Yes, exactly. You're like, what happened? I spent all this money. Anyway.
Right, then so let's go back to Jim's question very quickly. And he's just wanting to know, how long have you planned for your writing career to last? Is this something that you're going to do right, die? Or is this until your ideas run out? Or what's your plan?
Well, I'm hoping that my ideas never run out because a lot of people don't know this, but I still don't consider myself a fantastic plotter. I think I'm decent, but a lot of the socioeconomic kind of stuff and world building, I don't feel like I'm as good as I would like it to be, and there's just certain details that I'm not great at. So what I did when I switched to self-publishing is I actually found a partner to help me with that stuff. And she gets a percentage of my royalties for doing so. And she's listed as the editor on my books because she also helps with the editing. And so, you know, I do want to do my own stuff, but hopefully even if I do run out of inspiration, I'll still be using co-writers because it's not that I don't do anything with the world building, but I do need somebody to kind of help me with the finer details and take like the concepts that I have and put them together in something that's better than what I would do on my own.
Right.
And going on, I pretty much want to just make a ton of money and retire. But who knows how long that's going to take. You know, I want to have at least 20 or 30 books out before I decide to take a real like break. So that could be a couple years.
Right. Well, let's go and ask you about that. How fast do you write? I mean, what does a day look like to you?
Well, it depends on the day. But when I'm writing, my last book, the fourth book in my series, Marked by Magic, I wrote it in 10 days. Basically, I'm a huge procrastinator. If you leave me to my own devices, I will get nothing done.
Right.
That's one of the reasons I do pre-orders, by the way, is because I can't procrastinate. I have deadlines. I have to get it done.
Right.
But basically, what I would do is I'd get up in the morning, I'd get my tea, I'd put my playlist on, and for 3 or 4 hours, I would basically get out about 4,000 words. I can do like when I'm really going, I can do about 2,500 words an hour. But recently, I just haven't been quite in the headspace to do 2,500 words an hour. So it's been more like 1,000 to 1,500. And I've just compensated that by forcing myself to give myself more time. Right. So I do like 3 or 4 hours in the morning, then I take the afternoon off, and then I do another 3 or 4 hours at night. And that way I don't feel burned out. Like if I did like 8 hours at once, I would just like the next day I just wouldn't want to do anything.
Right.
So by that I can kind of give myself these long breaks in between these sprint-ish sessions and get it all done. So yeah, I did. The last book was something like 70,000 words, and I did that in 10 days. So
that's cranking.
That is absolutely cranking.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm thinking, you know, if I can do about 4 or 8 books a year, that'll be pretty good for me. But you know, I do like to travel and go on vacation and procrastinate. So we'll see how that actually goes.
What's your process with that? How many you do a lot of words per minute and per hour, obviously, but how many drafts do you do?
Well, I do a first draft because, like I said, I have a partner, so we have a process. She gets the outline, the initial draft. We go back and forth on it a couple times until we agree on everything. Then I start. We do a first draft, and then what we do is I'll have her. What we do is I use a Microsoft OneDrive, so she can read the manuscript as I'm writing it. She's also like in Austria, so like when she wakes up, I'm going to sleep, so it's kind of perfect. So when I go to bed, she'll read what I've written and she'll make notes, developmental notes on anything to change. And then so after I'm done with the first draft, she'll basically mark up the whole thing with stuff that, like, you know, plot holes or, you know, things that just don't really work or that could be done better, or, you know, if I'm too politically incorrect about something, she'll slap me and she'll say, no, you can't write that. sometimes we argue, but most of the time she's right. Um, anyway, so she'll do that. I'll go through it, and then she'll do another pass for spelling and grammar, and we'll send that off to my beta readers. And I have anywhere from 10 to 20 at a time. I've only done like 4 or 5 books. So like in this last one, I think I had 20 beta readers, and they read it, and I give them like a feedback form to fill out. Basically getting their reactions on what they liked, didn't like, if there's anything confusing, any words that didn't make sense, all that kind of stuff. And then she tabulates the notes, marks up what needs to be changed, then we go back through and change it, and that's our third draft. Then she line edits the third draft, and then, you know, we have to get a proofread and all that stuff. And we go back and forth because her writing style is more formal than mine, and my character's voice is very, like, you know, more relaxed and modern American. So a lot of the changes she'll make, I'll have to look at them, because usually she's right, but I don't. But the way she words things doesn't necessarily fit with my character's voice. So that's a bit of an intensive process to make sure we get that part right. So usually ARC readers get like the 5th draft or so.
Okay, that's a lot of beta readers. Do you find it difficult to coordinate all that as far as going through all their suggestions? And how did you find your beta readers? Are they professionals, writers, fans?
They're mostly fans these days. In the beginning, I went to Absolute Right and I asked around. A couple of them I had to swap, but a few others basically did it for free. And I do have author friends, so I posted on Facebook, and some of them asked other people. And there's a group called the Book Club on Facebook. It's a secret group. It's run by a woman named Tracy Fenton, and there's like 5,000 people in it or something. So beta readers and ARC readers, they're a great place to draw from. It's a big secret. It's a huge secret. Anyway, but mostly it was between readers on Facebook who were other author readers, and then authors from the Absolute Right forum. Those were my first readers, and I had about 10 of them. But after the book launched and I had real fans, I mostly used fans. Authors are great, and I like to have 1 or 2 of them if I can, because they can spot stuff, like, from a craft standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly at this stage of the game, I just want reader reactions.
Mm. Yeah, I think sometimes beta readers who are writers can be somewhat problematic depending on what you're doing.
Right.
They read it differently. Not like readers.
Yeah, I know. Like, I remember when I first joined, like, Autonomy, how many years ago was it? I don't even remember. It was many years ago, by my short lifespan standards.
When you were fetus, yes.
Anyway, I put like a fantasy, my first book up on there, and it just got torn to shreds, and it was terrible. But I learned a lot. But as a result of it, like in the beginning, I feel like there's a certain fear that you get, a fear to write and fear not to break the rules, and your creativity kind of gets stunted for a little while until you get past that hump. But the same thing happens in reading, and for a while there, I think some writers haven't gotten past this, where they can no longer read for enjoyment anymore, and they're basically picking it apart and saying, well, I could have done that better, or this guy broke that rule, because they're still trying to. I don't know, I feel like it's like finding yourself as a writer. Like, you want to get more confident. Like, you have to know the rules to break the rules, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, when you're still trying to figure out what your style is and what's right and wrong in your opinion, you're kind of shaky on the whole thing. Yeah. And as a beta reader author in that position, I think it makes it tough.
Absolutely. Before I started writing professionally, before I made the decision, I read 100 books, and I read widely, and I found that I was reading for enjoyment, the tropes that got to me, that sung to my heart, stuff I wanted to write about, stuff that sparked ideas. Great. I started writing, and the next thing I read was Stephen R. Green's Nightside series, and I was like, well, how does he set up a room, and how does he explain how everything is happening, and then how does he place characters? And I realized I'm not reading for enjoyment anymore.
Sure, I know. I seem to have separated the two modes out. I do read for enjoyment. Oh my God, what the hell? Sorry about that. My phone is connected to my Mac, so if I get a phone call, it'll like ring on my Mac.
We didn't hear it, so you're all good.
We didn't hear it. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. Anyway, what was I saying?
Reading for enjoyment.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, I've learned to compartmentalize. I can read a book and read it for enjoyment, or I can read it as an author and try to dissect it and figure out what's going on. Because I feel like it's important to do both, especially when you want to be successful in a genre. You want to read in your genre as much as possible, and you want to read the books that are successful and figure out the commonalities. Chris Fox talks about that in Right to Market.
Yes.
And he's not the only one, but it's a good book, and it kind of succinctly tells you how to research and write to market. So yeah. Anyway,
he's a friend of the show.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I'm sure he is. He's
Yes.
kind of everywhere.
You're in good company. So, as an old woman, that is to say, I probably have a child your age.
Oh man.
How do you get all this energy? How do you find all this time? Because 70,000 words, that's not a small feat right there. And then you also do promotions, you also do the meetups, you travel a lot, you have a lot of time, you fit a lot in. I get tired looking at your Facebook page. Because I'm just like, oh, girl. Where do you find the time?
Well, I'm a little lucky because I don't. My boyfriend and I live together, and he has 3 kids, and when they're home, it's distracting and it can be tough.
Mm-hmm.
But it's especially because his youngest one, I help out with him a lot. But he makes the big money in our house. So when I moved in with him, he sort of afforded me the ability to try out this self-publishing thing. I told him, listen, you're paying all the bills. I'm going to do this writing thing, and maybe you can retire when I'm rich. That's the deal.
That's a deal.
Well, he didn't totally believe me on that one, but he's sort of starting to now. Anyway, so that really helps because I don't have to worry about the roof over my head. A lot of people don't have that luxury. They have children, or they have a job, or they have whatever. So I just have a day, and I basically just have to figure out how to not be lazy and get the stuff done. Because Facebook is such a time suck, and I could spend hours just thinking and number crunching and strategizing, and like, if I do this and we get to this many numbers, and I don't even want to get into the details, but I can get wrapped up in the dreaming, in the daydreaming about like my grand plans, and not actually do anything.
I hear you. I can do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, shit, the afternoon's over. I was supposed to schedule blah-de-blah. So I started making to-do lists. It helps keep me on track. I'm sure a lot of people do that. Spreadsheets are great. I actually have a PA. Her name is Jenna Gregoire from Pure Textuality, and she helps me out scheduling like paid promos and doing stuff that I just don't want to think about anymore. So basically, I have her do stuff that I don't necessarily think I have to do myself. And there's still stuff that I do that I could probably have her do, like sending out art copies of my books. And the reason I do it is because it offers me the opportunity to interact with my readers personally, because I don't just send them as a book funnel. I actually send out a mass email to my ARC list, and I ask them if they want the book, and then they email me, and I have to email them individually. So it's a nice opportunity to show them that I'm a real person. Yeah. I think connecting with readers is important. Like a lot of them, I think a lot of them think that authors are like these lofty people that sit in towers and drink coffee and type at a typewriter and stuff. So I think that when you can connect with your fans, it's great, and they're more likely to help you promote your stuff and things like that.
Okay, Jasmine, can we talk a little bit about your process too? Because you talk about plotting and not being very strong at it, but when you're sitting down and cranking out 4,000 words, I'm assuming that you have some sort of outline or something you're working off there.
Oh, absolutely. I could not do this without an outline. I don't understand how pantsers. There's some pantsers that can get stuff done so fast. Because if I don't have an outline and I don't know where I'm going, I can take forever because my mind will start wandering and I'll start thinking, oh, this sucks, or how does this make any sense? And I can go off to Google and start researching stuff, and the next thing you know, I got 500 words done. So what it is basically my partner does the outline. On the first book, we did world building too. So like I kind of said, well, listen, maybe we can do a society with mages and shifters and have a shifter mage hybrid because I've never heard of that. I think it would be cool. And then we start figuring out what the society's like. And when I say we, I mean mostly her. Like I kind of give her general strokes, and she comes up with like the nitty-gritty details. And then I'll come back in and adjust things that I think work, or I think don't necessarily work, or I'll add stuff. Like a lot of the magic stuff was mostly done by me, because I think she's widely read. I'm not saying I think I'm more familiar with it than her, but I just felt like she actually asked me to do it. I felt like I was stronger in that area. So there are areas where I'm stronger in the world building and plotting than she is, but she's still mostly better at it than I am. So after that, she'll kind of do like a summary, kind of like the kind of synopsis that you would send to an agent, not like a book blurb, but actual like paragraphs detailing the overall story and the different plot points and stuff. And once we agree on that, she'll actually do a scene-by-scene outline where she describes briefly, but in some cases she'll put in more detail, what should be happening in each scene. And then I'll take that and I'll write the book. And sometimes I'll ask her for more specifics, like if something is supposed to happen but I don't understand how it's going to happen or why it's going to happen, I'll ask her to provide me more detail on the background of it so that I can write it more convincingly. But once I have all that, I pretty much don't have to spend a lot of time thinking and researching and stuff like that. If every once in a while I run into something that like doesn't make sense, and I'll just shoot her an email and she'll clear it up and I can move forward. But it enables me to write fast because I don't have to worry about the plot.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, it is great.
It's nice.
Right. I'm looking at your covers. I was a little distracted because I was looking at your covers. They are beautiful. Who does them?
My boyfriend. Yeah.
Again, I don't have one of those.
Yeah.
I plan to get one.
You're not the first person who said that to me. His name is Chute. He has a website by the same name, www.jutedobin.com.
Okay, hold on. Slow down. I need you to spell that for me because we're providing all the information.
Sorry, www.judahdobin.com.
Okay.
Anyway, he's a storyboard artist. I don't know if you know what that is. He basically, yes. Yeah. But he's also a great illustrator. And when I started this whole thing, I was actually not going to use him. I was going to hire Raven or Becky Frank.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like offended. He was like, "You're not going to have me do it?" Because in his opinion, illustrations are always better than photo manipulation.
True.
And in fantasy, I especially think that may be true. A lot of I feel like in a genre where, in an age where self-publishing so many covers are photo manipulation, that you stand out with a really good illustration. It looks like money, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do pay him now, but the first two were pro bono because I was a startup. But I think he did a. Yeah, well, we have an arrangement. Anyway. Anyway, so he did a fantastic job. I get compliments all the time on my covers, and I couldn't be more happy with them. It's also nice because he sits right over there, and a lot of people have to email and go back and forth with their cover designers, but I can kind of stand over his shoulder and say, no, I don't like that, or you're showing too much cleavage, or whatever. And get him to adjust it as needed. I mean, mostly, to be honest, I don't hover over his shoulder because A, I don't have time for that, and B, it's just rude. So he'll call me over at certain stages and let me critique him. And we have a pretty decent process by this point, and I think like I said, I think he's done a great job.
Does he read the book, or you just tell him this is what it looks like and walk away?
Well, to be honest, he's a big audiobook guy, but he doesn't really like reading. I think he made it halfway through the first book, which is like a big achievement. So anyway, I basically just tell him what I want. I tell him, this is what she is. She uses these kind of weapons. I kind of already have a concept in mind, and he'll do like about 5 or depending on, I think it's 5 or 10 sketches of different ideas, and then we'll kind of settle on one. The first time I actually surveyed it because I wanted like reader opinion, but now that I'm further along in the series, I don't do that so much anymore. But after we decide on a composition, he'll just go forth and do the line art, and then do the actual coloring. And at each stage of the process, I'll come in and I'll give him feedback on whether or not I think certain things are working or not.
Wow. That sounds like a really good process, and it really does help to have them across the room so you can say,
it really does.
It sounds like a great
It really does. I know. I'm lucky. I'm lucky.
Yes. Oh, and it's good to be lucky. Never forget that.
Yes. I'm grateful. I know that most people don't have the resources that I do, so it's nice.
It is. We have another question from the audience. Jim is asking, some urban fantasy authors are saying that it's a saturated market, but to be honest, every genre wants to say that their market is saturated. Do you agree with that?
Well, that's interesting because coming back to new adult, one of the reasons I was thinking about using the new adult tag was because somebody was saying the urban fantasy market is saturated. And I was like thinking maybe I could stand out a little on that point. And honestly, I think urban fantasy is saturated, and just like romance is saturated. It doesn't matter. The idea is that you just have to find a way to put a good enough spin and be as good, if not better, than the competition with your presentation, and find like a good, have a good promo strategy so that you can get that boost in sales early on to help, because to help with the Amazon algorithm, because the algorithm does most of the work for me. Amazon, recommends me to readers. I'm in the also bots. I've been sent out in the sci-fi fantasy newsletter. Like, it's great. I don't have to do anything. I'm not saying I don't have to do anything. I mean, I do promotions and I schedule book blasts and stuff like that. But anyway, you really just have to figure out how to make Amazon work for you.
So I take it you are exclusive.
I am exclusive. My first book is actually wide and it's free right now because it's going to be in the box set that I'm organizing, Magic and Mayhem, and that set is going to be wide for the first week, so my book has to be wide. So I've been experimenting with perma-free. But other than that, yes, I'm exclusive.
All right, then. Let's talk about Magic and Mayhem in a moment. I have another question for the audience. Cam is asking, how did you find your writing partner?
I actually went on Scribophile, and I literally went to like the publishing section, and I posted like a call, and I said, hey, I write really fast. I'm looking for someone who can plot and edit. Yeah, I write really fast. I know that by most standards I do write really fast. So there are people that are faster than me. I was going to name names, but I'm not going to.
Amanda Lee comes to mind.
oh yeah, I know. Amanda Lee is amazing. Jason Cipriano likes to taunt me constantly. with his ability to write faster than I can.
I'm faster than you.
Anyway,
asking all these questions. He's another pulp speed writer. So yeah, we got the speed here.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I just basically, what it was is I realized that with ghostwriting, I basically had the equivalent of an art director, somebody who could give me a plot and who would do the editing afterwards and could kind of steer me where I go wrong. And I basically said, instead of being paid $1,000 for that, why don't I just go find somebody who will do that for me and just be a partner? And she'll get a percentage of my royalties, and I could potentially make more money. Right. And the strategy paid off.
Yeah, I would say so. It paid off very well.
Yeah, it's nice.
So tell me about this box set. Number one, it's massive. Number two, we're doing a promo of our own, and I can tell you that Erica works a lot to get it organized and up off the ground.
Little applause for Erica.
Yay! Erica. She's awesome. And first of all, how did you get the idea? Number two, tell me about the process of doing one well.
Well, basically, I got the idea from Rebecca Hamilton because she does like tons of box sets.
Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's mostly until she's just recently doing a urban fantasy paranormal romance one, but before that they were all mostly romance, paranormal romance, and I just didn't have a book that would fit into them.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me, the main reason I wanted to do a box set was to try to hit the USA Today list.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot easier with the box set than a single title. So what I did was I basically decided to do one for fantasy, and I asked her to help me with it. And I said, basically, can you just be a consultant and give me, like, you know, your secrets? So I can't, like, tell you everything because she'd be mad at me.
Right.
But I can talk about some general broad strokes. Like, you know, we basically did, like, a whole call for authors. There's a Facebook group called, I think it's called Box Set Collaborations or something. And so I went on K-boards and stuff like that, and I found people to participate in my set. And basically the most important thing is that they have a big newsletter, or at least big enough that, like, you can be confident that when we all send out our mailings to our mailing list, that we can get, you know, enough of a jump start with all those people that pre-order, that we can carry the box set to getting, you know, 5,000 or 7,000 sales that we need.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was an ordeal because nobody knew me from Adam, as far as, you know, trusting me as being a set organizer. But having Rebecca helped because people know her and she's done great with box sets. So hiring her was probably my smartest move as far as that goes. But after the initial, you know, ramp up of organizing things and delegating tasks, because I don't do it all myself, I do have the box set participants do different tasks.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly I haven't had to ask her for everything anymore. It's just a matter of, you know, scheduling promotions and, you know, regularly posting about it on social media and Facebook ads and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're close to 5,000 pre-orders right now. So I'm reasonably certain that we may make the list, but we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
Mostly
cool.
the biggest problem is trying to get 500 sales on a platform outside of Amazon, because it's just hard. You have to get at least 500 sales on either Nook, Kobo, or iBooks. So right now we're, you know, trying to get more momentum going with Nook. We're pretty much set with Amazon. But once you can hit that 500 on another retailer, you know, you're pretty much smooth sailing.
After Amazon, what's number 2 with you?
After Amazon?
Yeah.
Oh, Nook. Yeah. It's Amazon, Nook, iBooks, and then I don't even know about Kobo because their pre-ordering system, you can't, like, actually see how many pre-orders you get. And it was weird because during release week I was, like, number 1 in, like, a category and, like, number 10 in another one on Kobo. But when I emailed Mark and I asked him for a report. He said I had no pre-orders. So I don't really know. I don't really know how that works. Hopefully we have a few, but it's not really gonna push us towards over that hump to the USA Today. It's mostly gonna be Amazon and Nook.
Okay, so we have to send out alert to Kobo. Kobo, Mark, do something about that.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, he listens to the show once in a while, and
Yes, he does.
He's a nice guy. Not knocking Mark, but they do have some technical stuff they have to finish sorting out.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you touched a little bit on social media with Facebook ads and stuff. What have you found being most successful with that, and what are you trying to maybe get better at right now?
Well, Facebook ads I could definitely stand to get better at right now. I've been studying up more and learning more about targeting and things like that. I'd say I have a freebie. My freebie ad for my perma-free book is actually doing really well. I think it's got like a CPC of like 4 cents or something. And that's a CPC link, because there's a CPC general, but then there's CPC link, which is a different metric, and that measures. So I don't know why they're different metrics, but they are, and that's like the actual click to the website. Like for example, I was running video ads, and even though my CPC was like 1 or 2 cents, by the way, video ads get like the best CPC. I don't know exactly why, but they do. Like my CPC link was like 30 cents. So I don't know why.
That's cost per click.
Cost per click.
For
Yeah,
those who
sorry.
don't know.
Anyway, I don't know why the CPC and the CPC link are different prices, but they can be. So I'd like to figure out video ads a little better. I'm still trying to tweak mine because I made it myself, and unfortunately, iMovie is not great as far as editing the finer details. And video trailers are unfortunately expensive, so I'm trying to figure out something there. I guess your original question was, what else can I improve on?
Or what other social media are you finding good outlets on, or just some social media stuff in general for you?
I'm honestly, I don't do a ton on social media. It's mostly Facebook. I have a Twitter account, but these days it's mostly automated. I use a software program or a service called TweetSuite, and basically what it does is you can put in like 10 or 20 tweets, or really however many you want, and you can get it to rotate through those tweets and post them, and you can do it every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes, every hour or something. So that basically, because the problem is that you put out a tweet, and maybe 5%, if that, if your following actually sees it. So the more times you tweet, the more potential you get to reach your audience. And so between Twitter and Round Team, which basically finds stuff to share for you instead of you having to go and retweet everything yourself, my Twitter account's mostly automated. But in the beginning, when I was doing it myself, I actually met some great people and got good engagement. And I do have people who tell me that they've seen my stuff on Twitter. So I know that Twitter's valuable. And I've heard people tell me that I've heard one person tell me that they've made like $400 a month in affiliate links just off tweeting books on Twitter. So I mean, they have they have like 100,000 followers, but still, it's definitely not a tool to be underestimated. You just have to set it up properly. But I mean, I know I could be on Pinterest and Instagram and Tumblr and stuff like that, but it all just sounds too time consuming for me. And the truth is that I don't need to do it. Like maybe it'll get me a couple more sales here and there, or maybe it's just good for connecting with the audience. But I'm making enough money as it is that it's just more important to focus on what I'm already doing than trying to find other things to spend my time on.
Right.
Fair enough.
Oh, but all those opportunities to procrastinate, Jasmine.
I know. I know.
Missing out.
What do you find is the biggest challenge that's coming to you in your self-publishing journey? If you have
biggest
to think about
challenge. It's a tough one. I mean, I know I've said this a bunch of times, but Motivation can be a struggle for me. Like I said, I can write a ton, but I also, burn out, and there's just like something about me where I'm like, I don't want to work. I just want to lay around and do nothing, or like, have fun. I'm like a little kid that way. Yeah. So even though I've kind of set up my life and found ways, like basically trying to get everything done, in a small amount of time and doing a lot of work in a small amount of time instead of stretching it out over a month or 3 months or however long it takes to write a book for some people, I could still be better. Like I've done, I think my biggest day was 16,000 words, and that was because I was behind on my deadline and I stayed up till like 3 in the morning because I had to get the book done by that day. Like if I did that like, I don't know, for 5 days or something, I could have a book instead of 10. But I don't know that I'll ever do that just because I like having the afternoons to kind of chill out and stuff like that. But I know that if I somehow could just figure out how to not be so lazy, and I know some people look at me and be like, "What the fuck? You're not lazy." Right. But I know, basically I'm just saying there's always ways to milk more out of my time that I'm not doing, and I could be making more money and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not, because I do like to enjoy life.
Right.
So
you like your life the way it is, and it's paying off for you.
Yeah, not doing bad, really, Jasmine. Don't beat yourself up too much.
I try.
I'm confused by this talk of enjoying life, but go on. That's very strange.
Well, I'm confused by this question from the audience. Billy Hoffman asks, "How did you survive your unplanned night spent in Detroit?"
Hi, Billy.
We got to cut with this. I think this might be really, really good.
Well, Billy knows about my unplanned night in Detroit because he and I are friends on Facebook, and he lives in Michigan as well as Lloyd. And what happened is we were flying to Florida, me and my boyfriend and his son, and we missed our connection in Detroit, so we ended up having to stay overnight. To answer your question, it was good. We had nachos and bad Italian food, and I had my laptop, so I was okay.
Well, it wasn't no juicy story there, but Billy, thank you for interacting.
Awesome.
Yes. I was hoping it'd be something really wild, but
No, unfortunately, we didn't have time for wild. We had to get on the plane the next morning, so.
You mentioned going to NINC. Could you tell us a little bit about Novelist Inc. and why go?
Mostly I'm just going because Pippa DaCosta told me to go. She writes the Veil urban fantasy series. Mm-hmm. She started before I did, and I got into her books before I even started, and I love her. She's great. But she came out to Santa Monica to research for her Veil spin-off series, and I said, hey, this was around the time when I was organizing the first Los Angeles meetup. So she said, hey, I'm going to be here. You should come to my hotel. So I did, and we talked for a couple hours, and she told me about how she goes to NINC, and she went to BEA, and she goes to these other conferences because it's good for networking. And I thought, I should probably do some of this networking stuff. So that's why I went to BEA in Chicago back in May, because she recommended it, and I actually had a great time, and I learned some good stuff there. But I'm going to NINC basically because I just want to see what it's about and meet the other authors and listen to the panels and the conferences and stuff. I know that Pippa's going. I know that Boyd is going. DK Holmberg is going. So there's a couple people that it'll be great to meet in person. It's not cheap particularly, and I don't think it's necessary to go to these things. But I think that making connections is important, because for example with this box set, I couldn't do it by myself. I have 20 or 21 other authors doing it with me, and having connections and getting knowledge and experience from all these other people, I do think that it's helped me just become a better marketer and better at strategizing and stuff like that.
All right then.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, as I think we said in the pre-show a little bit, as Krishan said, it's weird. We get these connections through these screens, right? And we know all these
Sure.
people, and I name drop like Krishan and stuff, but I've never actually met her. So I got to make it out to Austin is what I'm getting at, Dave.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Where do you live again? Where do you live again, Wade?
I'm in Oregon, so I'm just outside.
Oh, okay. You're up north. Okay.
Yes. So, and Robert's really up north, but
He's Canadian.
it's Canadian, a resident Canadian. So.
I'm sorry.
Oh man.
I would tell him not to apologize, but he's Canadian.
Right.
I'm so
I
sorry.
feel like Canadians have to apologize for everything. It's just part of their personality. Maybe I'm being racist or offensive, but
I think Robert fits the mold.
I'm really upset, but I really can't say.
right?
Well, gosh, the hour is gone already. Jasmine, thank you so much. It was very, very interesting listening to your journey and what's going on. So thanks for joining us today and answering all our questions and putting up with our nonsense.
You're welcome. It was great to meet you guys.
Yeah.
I think a little more nonsense, but okay.
Yeah. Maybe we'll bring her back on for more nonsense.
Fine. Just let me know when so I can be more prepared next time.
We'll bring you on after you hit the USA Today list.
Oh, there you go.
Deal.
Nice.
Deal.
Nice. So if people do want to check out your books and stuff, where do you want to point them to? Where can they find you in those great big interwebs?
Well, my website is www.jasminewalt.com. It's pretty easy. JASMINEWALT. That's me. You can also find me on Amazon under the same name. I don't have additional pen names, so everything is under one name. Twitter is @Jasmine_writes, and you can find me on Facebook under Jasmine Walt also.
Nice.
That's me.
Yes, and we want to definitely give a shout out to our live viewers tonight. Jasmine brought a few fans with her, it seems like, so that was really cool.
That's true. Thanks for watching.
Yes. Chris, I don't know if Krishan or Robert are on this week with this, but we got a blab coming up Sunday, right? 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. So all about news in the indie world. So check us out there. Of course, catch us here live next week too. And check out our website, selfpublishingroundtable.com. I have a post coming up next week that I think will be interesting for some people. And we've got lots of good stuff on there. Got our promo stuff going on. What else do we want to pitch? Robert or Krishan, you got anything you want to?
As
Tales
always.
of Allazar, Black Golden Sage is on sale on Amazon.
Sorry, I might have stepped on that. What was your title again?
Tales of Allazar, Black Golden Sage. And you can find out more about it at my website, allazar.com, sorry, I can never spell the name of my own universe. ALLAZAR.com.
Oh, man.
That's not a marketing
That's all right. I can never remember your 3 names either, so it's all good.
By the way, I probably should just mention that if anybody wants to try my books, the first one is free, and it's going to be free only until the end of July. So if you want to check me out, you can do it for $0.
Grab it now. Give us the title one more time, Jasmine. Make sure we get it.
Burned by Magic by
Burned
Jasmine
by Magic
Walt.
by Jasmine Walt. Pick it up. It's free. End of July. And Robert, what do you got going on?
As always, you can spin the platters that matter and the eternal wheels of steel at allthatchazz.com. Chazz with 2 Z's, 2 Z's, if you are nasty.
And because you are our resident Canadian for the show, I haven't seen X forever, so we got to, but was there any final thoughts you have for us tonight, Robert?
2 things. I'm so sorry. So very sorry. And green is for go. Good night, internets.
Good night.
Good night.